This is the Now San Diego.
A major demonstration today that began mid-morning and just wrapped up. Protesters are demanding the White House change its policies on immigration, marching from Chicano Park all the way to the Federal Building downtown. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Atkinson in for Kimberly Hunt. 10 News reporter Steve Fiorina is live. And Steve, there have been a few arrests today too.
It was a rally that began down in Chicano Park, one that took over the streets of San Diego as they wanted to make their point about illegal immigration. It was a noisy but mostly peaceful rally that San Diego police were in front and behind them and making sure that those driving and those in the vicinity were safe, blocking intersections as they made their way over here. They reached the Federal Building early this afternoon, and with more chants and sign waving, they continued their demonstration.
First of all, we're here to free our future. That's the theme of the rally. And we can't free our future until we start abolishing the institutions that are oppressing us. And right now, that's ICE. ICE has been coming into our communities from California to Connecticut and New York, incarcerating folks with any due process, illegally detaining folks without any kind of criminal warrant.
No one blocking the entrance to the Federal Building was arrested, but 10 people were taken into custody after draping a banner from the roof of the Weston gas lamp. That banner read, "Free our families now." It was pulled back up. Those responsible were arrested on charges of trespass, conspiracy, and obstruction. Now, you may have heard that 18 people arrested in LA today. Well, this is the location where they were all sitting here till about 3 o'clock with their arms locked together, but the police stood to the side. People were allowed in at the other entrance. They blocked these doors, but that's all, and it ended quietly. About an hour ago, they basically congratulated each other and dispersed. Live downtown, Steve Fiorina, 10 News.
All right, thank you, Steve. Brian Chalonsky now inside the 10 News Live Center watching some breaking news. This is also coming here from downtown. Our 10 News breaking news tracker right here along California Street at the Rush Press. That is a warehouse building where earlier, just about 45 minutes ago, fire crews showed up to see flames and smoke shooting from the roof there. They determined that the fire was started from a faulty air conditioner. Here's the thing, though. It's a vacant building, and homeless people had been living up on the roof. They weren't there when firefighters got there. There was no damage to the building itself. That is the good news. And you see fire crews here kind of finishing up here right outside the Rush Press. But the good news, the fire is out, and nobody was hurt. Steve, back to you.
It's all calm there. Thank you, Brian. Now to a tragic update on the mass stabbing in Boise, Idaho over the weekend. We're told that a 3-year-old girl has died from her injuries. The unidentified girl was one of 9 people injured in that stabbing, including 6 children. Of the remaining victims, 7 are still in the hospital, many with serious or critical injuries. The suspect here, Timmy Kinner, is accused of attacking the birthday party because he wanted revenge for being kicked out of the complex. Sharp Grossmont Hospital is running on backup generators right now after a brief power outage. SDG&E says the outage happened right around 11 o'clock this morning and it lasted for about an hour. Water crews were working when they hit a power line. 7 customers in the La Mesa area also lost power. Now, we're told that no patient services were ever impacted, and the hospital was put on full bypass for its emergency room. SDG&E says it could take up to 24 hours to repair the entire equipment.
Check out our lineup here on this Monday afternoon, and a major group is really worried about what's going to happen to lots of American-made products being sold in other countries. Today on the Now, a closer look at the impact it could have on jobs here at home. And also a new warning for people with credit card debt. This is essentially to clear up some confusion about how to improve your credit score. 1 in 5 of us doing it wrong. We're also talking about a new way to treat excessive sweating. The FDA just greenlighting a new treatment for that, and a story you won't see anywhere else today. A small town that actually pays people to move there. We're talking thousands of dollars. There's a good reason behind it. Very interesting story only on the Now today.
All right, Chris, sweet jacket. Thank you. A newspaper delivery man caught peeing on a fence along his route, then minutes later accused of threatening a homeowner. It is the latest in a string of disturbing acts that one man says he's sadly getting used to in his El Cajon neighborhood. Our 10 News anchor Brian Chalonsky spoke to that homeowner who is now considering moving his family.
Yeah, this neighbor tells me he has seen it all along this street in his neighborhood, and after this latest incident, enough is enough.
We have a lot of people that park, have sex, they steal cars, leave stolen cars there.
Jason Hofer and his family live in El Cajon, right on the county line. Hofer says for years now, if it's not been one thing, it's another.
At what point do people stop doing this?
But the last problem, not something you'd ever expect to see.
We had an incident where the newspaper man from Union Tribune, he was urinating on the side across the street from our house.
Hofer says the neighbors here take care of each other. He approached the delivery man, who he says, oddly enough, was delivering papers out of a Hummer. The man asked if Hofer called the cops.
And I told him, why wouldn't I call the cops? And he started yelling and screaming at me.
Hofer says screams turned to threats.
And he says, every time I see you outside, he says, I'm going to run you over with my car and I'm going to kill you. And then he said he was going to defecate in my front yard.
The driver worked for a third-party vendor, Southwest Deliveries. The company's owner says they've had problems in the past with him and he no longer works there. They also say he's apologized. Hofer says it's one thing to deal with the growing transient problem and the growing list of crimes he's witnessed firsthand, but this. Hofer and his family have tried everything, joining community groups. Neighbors have put up signs throughout the neighborhood. Right now, everyone is just at their wits' end, really hoping that police step up patrols in their neighborhood. In El Cajon, Brian Schlonsky, 10 News.
Delivering newspapers in a Hummer might be in the wrong business. A judge declared a second mistrial today for the drunk driver accused of killing a Lyft driver near downtown San Diego. Stephen Quintero was found guilty of DUI in the tragic crash in 2016. But for the second time, the jury could not reach a verdict on his murder or manslaughter charges. Quintero is accused of swerving into Henry Reyes on the side of the 94, then just taking off. Reyes had gotten out of his car to help a sixth passenger. Quintero will be back in court coming up next week.
Just an amazing development today. Rescue teams finding a team of 12 young soccer players and their coach alive in a cave in Thailand. They had been missing for more than a week. Yeah, these are the images and the video of the efforts to find them that finally paid off today. The boys, who are 11 to 16 years old, they went into the cave 9 days ago with their coach just for an afternoon hike, but they got stranded in the dark tunnels by a sudden and continuous downpour. Rescue crews right now checking out their health. All right, let's get to the Now Newsfeed, some of the other stories we're following today. And the Border Patrol says they made the least amount of arrests last month since February. Number one up 4 months in a row. The Associated Press says it could mean President Trump's zero-tolerance policy did have a deterrent effect on people thinking about coming into the U.S. illegally. Kim Jong-un and President Trump, they may meet again. And how about this? It would be in New York City in September. This is being reported by Axios. An American delegation did meet with North Korean leaders at the DMZ between North and South Korea over the weekend. Well, new today, Harvey Weinstein facing new charges of sexual assault, and it's involving a third woman. The charge is connected to a 2006 incident. No trial date has been set. Well, it has been a little more than a month since Starbucks closed thousands of its stores for anti-bias training. Well, today several groups are weighing in on whether that training made a difference. And now it's Kamasi Aaron with those results and asking just how much of a responsibility does Starbucks have to train staff on these issues?
This is video of the visit two men made to a Pennsylvania Starbucks that prompted employee anti-bias training. The training in each Starbucks store was self-guided, and today the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and Demos making their recommendations for future trainings, calling on the chain to use expert facilitators to diffuse conflicts and act as real-time coaches. The report cited a media report that training participants often diverted the conversation away from race, what they call a typical avoidance measure that a trained facilitator would be able to turn into a teachable moment. The group also recommended a phase of goal setting to make sure employees are clear about the competencies and practices they should develop.
For things like anti-bias, does that fall on a company like Starbucks or on the employee?
Well, I think both in many respects.
Whitney Traylor is an attorney and management law professor. He says Starbucks training went above and beyond its legal responsibilities.
We should have personal accountability and responsibility, but a corporation also has the burden of training its employees who are going to be dealing with customers on a daily basis of all different types.
Traylor says follow-up will ultimately decide the effectiveness of Starbucks training. In its report, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and Demos recommended that follow-up include a full-scale racial equity overhaul and changes to Starbucks policy manuals. For the Now, I'm Kumasi Aaron.
Kumasi, thank you. Let's get back to our lineup here in the big debate about what's going to happen to American-made products that are being sold in other countries. A big concern about jobs. We're going to take a close look at that when the Now continues.